Hello and welcome to the 77th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 18th of June, 2017. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and make sure you have a solid game plan before you are gathered at the meeting table. I learned that the hard way a few games ago. Excuse me. And our topic today is going to be pacing. Because one thing that I've learned is as much as you might want to like to fly by the seat of your pants, sometimes that's not a good thing. And when you do that without having a solid plan and you've got 6 players, is it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 soon to be 6 players. That can get a little rough.
Yeah.
And I'll explain the situation I ran into. And then I would like to pick your brain, Glenn, as a more experienced game master than I. Strategies to get around that. Because nothing, I always look at it as when you're running a game, it's almost like an unwritten contract. You're giving up hours of your life to be entertained. And when you have 5 or 6 people, you try to want to keep the amount of time each person has their thumb up their posterior waiting for, especially if the party is split up to do different things. Everybody needs their time, and I just kind of want to go over some observations that I ran into and things that I learned that I think are kind of valuable. Anyways,
Me
are Glenn Bittner. You are a movie reviewer, so I've heard. You have a show on the YouTubes called the B-Movie Bunker, and I've also heard that you created an RPG called Mistrunner. Is that in fact true, sir?
I wasn't expecting the Spanish Inquisition.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Thankfully, I'm already in a comfy chair, so yes, that is true.
Were this actually the Spanish Inquisition, your chair would not be comfy.
You don't know.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, getting back on track, we're going to do what we always do, which is roundtable discussion. We're going to start it off with a game review by Glenn. And you know what? We're going to skip gaming news because I don't want to do gaming news today. I'm gonna be a rebel. I'm gonna do something different.
Damn.
I know. I'm on the edge, man. I am the edge. So you have a game by Blue Orange Games. Nice.
Yes.
If it says Blue Orange, it's gonna be good. So what did you find for us today?
This is not just a game from Blue Orange Games. This is a current Spiel des Jahres nominee.
Ooh,
so
even better.
Kingdomino, 2 to 4 players, plays in about 50 to 20 minutes, retails for $20. Brought to us by Bruno Cathala, who's done a couple that I've reviewed, Abyss and 5 Tribes, amongst some of his more well-known titles. In Kingdomino, so you are a lord seeking new lands in which to expand your kingdom. You must explore all the lands, wheat fields, lakes, mountains, in order to spot the best plots. But be careful, as some other lords also covet these lands. So in Kingdomino, you have your little kingdom starts in a center tile, or in a tile by itself. Each player has making their own little kingdom. And every round, you're going to have these tiles, which are basically kind of like dominoes in that they have generally most of them have two separate images on them. It's kind of split in the middle. So like it might be like a wheat field and water, or it could be a mine and wastelands, or there'll be a mix of these things. And you're going to be selecting these and adding one to your kingdom each round. So, for example, in a 4-player game, you're going to draw out 4 of these random domino tiles, arrange them from lowest to highest because they're numbered on the back. And the higher the number, generally the better the tile it is. And then you're going to pick. So if I'm the first person picking, I have my choice of any of the 4 dominoes. The trick to this is that if I pick the best one, that means I'll be picking last next round. So it's kind of this balance of that's really good, but how much do I want to cripple myself in the next round by taking that really good tile? And is that really the best tile for me? Because scoring works kind of interesting in that you get points for however many tiles you have of specific terrain types, multiplied by the number of crowns that are on those dominoes for that terrain type. So if even if you get 8 forest tiles all touching, if there's no crowns, that's worth 0 points. If you get 1 crown there, you got 8 points. Great. However, if you get, say, a mine with 4 tiles, but it's got 4 crowns on it, that's worth 16 points because you multiply the tiles by the number of crowns.
Sure.
So the other trick is that you have to place when you place a new domino tile, it has to match at least one terrain type to whatever domino it's touching. Doesn't have to match both, but it has to match at least one. What is that map?
Okay. There's
better. Yeah.
They have a larger tile version here for some reason.
I'm like, that's not the game I know.
It's freaking huge.
Yeah. And there's other ways you can score bonus points. You have to build it in a 5x5 grid for your kingdom. You'll get bonus points if your castle's in the very center of that 5x5 grid. You'll also get bonus points if you make your grid perfectly a 5x5. Because depending on how you put your tiles, you might not be able to place 1 or 2 tiles because you have left yourself not able to place and still remain within that 5x5 grid. So it takes some planning as well. It's super. The rules are super light, but there's a lot going on with it for such a quick play game. I really like it a lot. I've taught this one to all of my staff. They all enjoy it. It's just been doing really well for us as well. I mean, and even before it was nominated for the Spiel, just a great little filler game.
This game sounds familiar. Did we talk about something like this when we had Keith Mateka
on? Possibly. I may have actually mentioned this exact game when Keith was on. I don't know. I don't remember. Okay. That was like 12 weeks ago.
It was a couple of weeks ago. Huh. Okay. It, yeah, like you said, it looks like a very fun pickup game. And flipping through some of these, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you go to youtube.com, just do a search for Galactic Netcasts, and you'll find us. This is beautiful, and it looks like there are people have created.
Yeah, people have created those.
Yeah,
that's not the actual tiles; those little wooden ones. They're just cardboard, but they still look nice.
Yes. It looks like a very beloved game, especially if people are making their own stuff for it. So, no, this looks like a lot of fun. And about what does it retail for?
$20.
$20. That is awesome for a quick play 2 to 4 player game. I want this for my library.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Huh. Do you have it currently at Board Game Barrister?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So run, don't walk, and pick up your copy of King Domino by Blue Orange Games. And it's a nominee.
Yep.
That is awesome. It's a Spiel nominee. So
I don't think it'll win, but
still, to be nominated is kind of
I still think it's a really good game.
Yeah. Well, looking at the current market of games, there's a lot out there, and to be nominated is kind of a deal. So
yeah,
I do hope they win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I slightly off topic. I think Magic Maze will probably win Game of the Year, which I'm going to talk about another time. As soon as I actually get in my store to sell.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you for bringing King Domino to our attention.
Absolutely.
I would like to bring to your attention a company called Die Hard Dice. Go to dieharddice.com and you can check out some of the nicest, most affordable sets of dice for gaming that you will ever find. They've just released their machined aluminum dice, which Todd Tiemann, the owner of the company, went through great pains to make sure that these dice were shaped appropriately so that the rolls were truly random. It wasn't weighted improperly. He agonized over this, and he has finally got them available for sale. Now, on some sites, you could find a set of machined aluminum dice for, when I say a set, I mean like an RPG set, a pair of D10s, a D4, D6, so on, for over $100. I saw one for like 120, 125. Die Hard Dice has their sets for $60. And if you get the Vampire set, which is red, the coloring on it is really amazing, but it's I don't want to say it's pearlescent, but it's a very interesting red color that is truly unique to it, unlike the other machined aluminum dice, which are a solid simple color. Anyways, if you use the coupon code when you check out, and if you order any dice, this is their transparent polyhedrals, their pearlescent polyhedrals, their metal dice, which they're known for, and I have a set right here in my hands, which I'm sure if I have my microphone close enough, you can hear that it's a solid metal die. Any set that you get from Die Hard Dice, you can get 10% off. And their accessories too. They do have rolling mats, especially if you're rolling the metal dice that I just did on my podcast table. Over time, those metal dice are gonna divot it. But in here I've got my tube with my neoprene die rolling mat from Die Hard Dice. Anything that you get from Die Hard Dice, use the coupon code Adventure Party, all one word, Adventure Party, and get 10% off your order. All right, we are going to just jump right into our Kickstarter spotlight. And last week, we talked about, holy crap. Last week we talked about Torg Eternity. They are re-releasing Torg, which is a
updated completely.
Yeah, if you gamed in the 80s and 90s like Glenn and I did, Torg was a name that you knew well, and Torg allowed you to cross genres and do all sorts of really awesome things. and they've re-released it, or they're about to re-release it. They wanted to hit a goal. Oh, this was yours, wasn't it? This was your pick?
This was my pick.
Oh, well, yeah. How about you? You want to take the driver's seat on this?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
I mean, you're being a rebel, so I didn't know what was going on. So, so yeah, they were looking for $8,000. They reached that goal in the first 8 minutes of this going live, which I'm not surprised. I mean, $8,000 for a role play game is a really small goal. So they have exceeded that by not by much, only by $259,000. So with 11 days to go. So yeah, this is definitely happening. They actually had, so yesterday was free RPG day. And there was actually a little mini Torg Eternity thing going on at my store.
Nice.
One of our regular dungeon masters apparently was doing some work on I think he said the Isle source book. He was doing something with them, and he had some nice stuff to show off for Torg, because Torg, for those who have never played it, and then for those who just don't remember, it's a role-playing game, but it also used a deck of cards. If you remember the cards that you played with it, that you would be able to redeem and turn in different cards throughout the course of the game to get special things that would happen and stuff like that. But then, of course, when you play these cards, the game master can then play cards back, which are often not good. It was the drama deck. So yeah, you have different destiny cards and stuff like that, cosm cards, and all these things you could play out of your drama deck that would basically, increase the drama of the game as you would want to do. So yeah, that went really well. He had 8 people playing that, so that went really well. This game is definitely happening. You can get lots of cool stuff. They got the different upgrades. You can get, if you back it, you can get all of the original Torg stuff in PDF. They've got some minis that you can add on. They got a soundtrack. The stretch goals, they've reached a few.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. Celebrity authors they've added, like Ed Stark, Miranda Horner, John Terra, whole bunch of other people like Monica Bellantinelli, John Wick, Steve Kenson, Robert Schwab, Ross Watson, some of the originals, Bill Slavacek, I think that I pronounce it, Greg Gordon. So lots of these people coming back, and just so many cool things. What is it? They have one of the original writers, Ed Stark, is writing 3 novelettes, which they haven't unlocked all 3 of them yet, but they're about to, they're going to unlock the 3rd one. They're only like 15,000 away from that. So and they're going to be updating more and more. So it just looks super cool. I'm glad to see Torg coming back. It was a game that I almost never played, but I owned almost all of the source material for it. I loved reading it. I loved using it for other things. Torg had quite a bit of inspiration on Mistrunner, because this was when Torg first came out, was during the first iteration of Mistrunner. So there was definitely some influence I took from Torg as well.
Sure. No, a lot of Torg was. I never played it. I never played that. I never played Rifts, which is another game that kind of reminded me of Torg, with that genre crossing. But that didn't mean that like all the gaming place that I went to, like on Saturdays and played, that was played at some of the other tables, and they had a great time. I was really I just learned that there was more to gaming than D&D, and I got pulled into White Wolf pretty hard. So that's where I was for a bit, and then branched out. So I never really got to play, but it always sounded cool to me. And they had a nice big section for Torg and Riffs at the game shop that I used to frequent. So it was a big deal, and it will be a big deal once more with this re-release. So that is awesome. And like you said, 11 days to go. So they have even more stretch goals that they've got laid out, and you can walk away with a lot of stuff. If you throw in, let's see, like either at the $50 or the $70 level. 50 is digital deluxe and 70 is the print.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the print version where you get all the Torg books. So $50 or $70 for everything is ridiculous. Like if you want to get in on, was it I was looking at getting a Pathfinder core book, and the core book was like 50 just by itself. If you wanted to get any of the other stuff, of course it was going to be a heavy investment.
Mm-hmm.
So 50 for the digital version, 70 for the print if you want to hold these copies in your hand. That's a song and a dance, because you're getting all of the Torg material with that. All of it. $130 value of just the all the original books. And that's not including the core rulebook. So you get the dice, you get all the stretch goals, which there are a ridiculous amount of stretch goals, like we said, have been unlocked. So if you are interested in gaming in a world where you can play any genre that you could imagine, Torg may be for you. All right. This time out, we are going to shine the Kickstarter spotlight on Owlcat Games and Pathfinder Kingmaker.
Yes.
Yes. Kingmaker is an isometric single-player RPG based on the Pathfinder role-playing game Kingmaker Adventure Path. Now, they are looking for $500,000 for their goal. As of now, as of today, June 18th, they have 23 days to go. They're at 468,482. So
never gonna make it.
Unless something incredibly weird happens, this is going to be a go. So, I just played through Shadowrun Hong Kong, the extended version. So I got the epilogue adventure as well. I'm not saying it's the same engine. I'm not saying anything like that, but it is a single player game that I totally got sucked into. And I'm not even a huge Shadowrun person. I've only played a handful of times. I've played Pathfinder a lot more. And I could see myself completely getting sucked into this game, which is why I'm hesitant to put my money into it. Because I have a feeling that my girlfriend will never see me again if I buy it. If you get it at the $28 level, that gets you the game. If you get in on the $40 level, you get the game and 3 in-game items: a magic cloak, a helm, and a ring. And your party will start with a unique and quirky spell. And it goes up from there. At $55, you can get the boxed edition. Oh man, there's a lot going on here. looks wise, I can't remember the name of the game, but if you check it out at Kickstarter.com and look up the Pathfinder Kingmaker game, I feel like I've seen this game engine before. I can't remember what game it is though. But it is beautiful. It is a gosh, what's the best way to? It's a third person view, but it's kind of, well, just like with Shadowrun, Hong Kong, or Shadowrun Returns, or I can't remember what the Shadowrun Dragon. Shoot, I can't remember the name of that one, but it's the same thing. It's, you know, it's not directly up above. It's tilted at an angle, but it's a third person view. And it is beautiful. In fact, I am going to share my screen if you are checking us out on YouTube, and here it is. Here's the gameplay that you're seeing, and it is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, beautiful maps. I could see myself completely getting immersed in this game and playing it over and over and over, and my girlfriend getting more and more angry as nothing gets done around the house. It looks like they got a good solid team of people working on this game too. Everything about this game looks like it's going to be a winner. And for $28 to get a game this beautiful it's a good deal. Absolute good deal. So we are recommending this week that you give Pathfinder Kingmaker a serious look on Kickstarter. So check it out. All right, we are going to pick up on our topic of pacing, and with that, I think hand in hand comes planning. I mean, I think it goes without saying that you really should have some kind of plan, and whether that's a plan that's in your head or a plan that's written down, it's probably better if it's written down. And I want to kind of discuss an issue that I currently have with the game that I'm running currently, which I think I've mentioned before. It's the Onyx Path updated version of the Hunters Hunted Vampire World of Darkness rule set. And it's taking place in the 1880s. And right now, we're in the middle of essentially like a Murder on the Orient Express sort of adventure. And they've solved like the first half of it. There is a non-supernatural thing that happened that they wrapped up, and that was a train robbery of sorts. Somebody was carrying some gold, and there was a con that worked very well to a point, and they've solved that part. But something else happened that kind of shone a light on that, and somebody was murdered. So I mentioned earlier that I'm running this for 5 people, soon to be 6. And each one has their own unique set of skills. Now, when you're on a train, your people that are probably a little less physical and more mental are going to have the opportunity to shine, especially in a murder mystery sort of a situation. And what I'm kind of finding right now is that my people who are excellent with guns and excellent with fisticuffs are having a harder time getting into the game. So I've got really kind of a weird, uneven pace, and I can't really force all of my players to be together because it's, I don't know. I don't think that it's practical, and it's not really the way it's kind of naturally, organically flowing, that they all are doing the same thing. So that's my first thing that I was wrestling with. Or actually, that's really my second issue I was wrestling with. My first one was getting everybody to the train and starting the adventure off. Again, it was pacing. It was doing the setup and meeting, some of the people that are on the train that are more the first class passengers who are, they've got berths essentially in the sleeper cars, and not like the people doing the, just like the quick passage, hopping on the train, hopping off, and the, I guess, kind of what you would consider like a coach type travel on a train, just bench seats. So I'm trying to get everybody situated, meet and greets, so people can learn and meet some of these other characters who are going to be a part of this mystery. It dragged on. It was, and I think it's a classic issue. When you start any game, everybody meets at the tavern to kind of, cut through some of the, getting people there, and because it's not a whole lot of fun to be focused on one person trying to get them to your destination where things are going to get kicked off. And that's a part of pacing too, I think. But again, I don't have enough experience to really know. So now that I've kind of laid out the issues that I have here, I think the overarching thing is pacing. What recommendations would you have in your experience, Glenn, to deal with those issues?
Man. So,
and ask follow-up questions, because I'm sure I haven't hit everything, and I'm sure you have questions.
Okay, so you're just trying to. What is it that you want to accomplish with it? I mean, that's the first thing is what are you trying to accomplish?
Okay, the overarching goal here is I'm doing kind of this weird high concept of, this is going to be a game that sort of takes place in 2 time periods.
Okay.
So the folks in the 1880s are they're developing the history of this organization. Okay. As things stand right now, the first adventure that the first story that I ran essentially was getting all the players together so these people could potentially start this group, okay, to investigate the paranormal in the 1800s, late 1800s. The second story is more cementing the team, getting people like comfortable with each other, but also introducing them more to the world of the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And the third act to this is them going to San Francisco and having another adventure and kind of finalizing the details of trying to make a larger organization that would eventually, stand the test of time for, over 100 years and get us to the point in time where the current day characters could play in this organization.
Okay.
So a lot of it is getting to know you. A lot of it is getting people, because the people that I'm playing with played vampire, played werewolf, played changeling, but playing Hunters Hunted is kind of a unique, different lens to look through, because for the most part, they're human. Some of them have hedge mage powers, but they're not introduced to the rest of the world of the supernatural. You know, they've heard stories of vampires, they've heard stories of werewolves and so on, but now they're kind of brushing up against this. And there is a reason for it, which will be explored in the game, but this is a lot of meet and greet, get to know you, and get people comfortable with the world.
All right. Oh. Well,
I guess.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No. What were you going to say? Because this might cheat, influence what I say.
Okay. Part of it is, my inexperience. I love the World of Darkness, obviously. But I haven't run a lot, like I said. So a lot of this is me kind of learning as I go. But I'm kind of also wondering if maybe for the most part I'm doing the right thing, but I just need to make some tweaks, because I am, doing that introduction to each other and to the world. And I'm just wondering if there's just going to be a lot of lulls that I need to kind of fight off. And it's not going to be nonstop action, but I want people to be engaged throughout.
Yeah.
Well, solving a mystery, or, tracking something down, or finding out information, or, whatever, but be engaged.
Yeah. So it's a tricky thing. It sounds like the people you're playing with are more experienced players. So
for the most part, yes.
So that lends, that still has something to your advantage. Because this can be super hard if you're playing with people who are less experienced, who,
Sure.
if they'll just, you have someone who's less experienced, who's just like, well, I'm just a fighter, I just hit things with a sword. This is all just talking stuff, so I have nothing to do. Which isn't necessarily true. There's always ways that people can contribute to everything, while still being true to their character. But it is a fine line, because there is going to be things where, if you want to have, a more, I guess, for lack of a term, broad type of story, where there's more than just, as you said, more than just, punching vampires. If you want more than just that, then yeah, you're going to have people who have other skills, and they're going to want, there's nothing worse than being like, I put all these points into history and folklore, and I never get to use it, because all we ever do is just we'll go punch that thing over there. It's kind of along the lines of it's, you get like the lazy writing, where it's Superman is supposed to be really smart, but his solution to everything is just to punch it in the face. And and when you want a story that isn't just that, yeah, there's going to be times you're going to have lulls. That happens. There's no way around that. The what you want to do is you want to try to make those lulls for so someone who's the big, meat shield, burly, kick things in the teeth guy. You don't want to linger too much on stuff. This was a problem that I ran into all the time with Shadowrun and Cyberpunk, because then it's, well, time for the Decker to do his stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone just sit around with your thumbs up your butts while we spend 45 minutes doing this. And it's hard to do, especially when something like that, because it's like the stuff he's doing is taking like literal seconds in the real world. So you can't advance the outside game story with that going on. So it's hard to balance it. And in that case, I ended up solving that, where I would do I would do some pre-game stuff. I would try to work the game out where there'd be game breaks at those times, either in the end of a session, and then I just have the Decker stick around. But When you have the whole group there, you can't do that. So it's trickier. The best ways, if you have a good story to tell, and as I said, this works better generally with more experience. As I say experience, more mature players, is that they're going to still be engaged in the story, even if at that moment they're not doing something. But it is key that you don't linger too long on any one specific thing, because if you're going to have something that's going to take like an hour for like this one, you have this huge diplomatic dialogue-y thing planned, it's going to take like an hour and a half. That's going to be a lull. That's going to be not fun for the person who has zero diplomatic skill.
Yeah.
Because they're just over the corner pacing back and forth, just going like, oh my God, would you all just shut up and stop talking and just let me shoot something in the head? But when you play it out well, it can, a good player can voice character frustrations when things are obviously boring for them. But the opposite is true, is when you have all the actiony stuff going on and there's the guy who's like, yeah, I've got half a hit point. And that's my max. I mean, I'm at my full and it's a half hit point. And, dude, if somebody just stares at me hard, I'm dead. You got a computer for me to hack, or, you got a safe for me to pick, I'm your guy. So it's that trade-off, and your more mature players can accept that, in that not everything's going to revolve solely around their one character. But it is definitely a tightrope to walk. I think a big thing is try not to let stuff get too sidetracked when you're having those lulls.
Yeah.
Because it'll just make the lull longer. But also try to do things to keep some of the other players engaged. I've done things where I've specifically had, like when I've been doing, when I've run like Mistrunner at conventions, there'll always be someone who will take like I'll make up a wide variety of pre-gens, and I'll have someone who's like pretty much got like almost zero fighting skills. But man, can they talk. They've got like all the different diplomatic and the persuasion and influence skills. They've got those up the wazoo. So that person want to do stuff. And sometimes that person will like to be a little bit more verbose.
Yeah.
And at times you can also play it off where the person that they're talking to can be like, yeah. Hey, meathead back there, what do you think? And you'll actually purposely drag those other people in, because sometimes they'll be like, it's kind of like having like a briefing with soldiers, where it's like you've got some big egghead scientist talking about, well, you're going to go in here, you're going to place this neutronium thing in he's going on, and it's like, yeah, but let me hear from the actual soldier and get some just general, basically, for lack of a term, jarhead approach to this as well. And you can kind of come to this kind of collusion where you're coming together with all these different ideas, where it's not just simply your big diplomatic guys, because sometimes the meathead fighter might have a good idea, while still being in character. I mean, that's the one thing you have to watch for is players doing the metagaming of the, well, obviously E equals MC squared. It's like, dude, you have a 3 intelligence, you can't even spell E equals MC squared. So yeah, I mean, it's not easy, and then the best game masters will run into it where they will have lulls. And if you have good players, as long as it's not like a constant thing, they get over it. I mean, I've played with games where some players couldn't handle it, where they just they wanted to be. An example of a game we played with Randy, that Randy was running, was we have like one guy who's like this big sciencey guy, but all he wanted to do was kill stuff. So like the whole game is just him. I want to get power armor. I want to get power armor. And Randy actually did a good job trying to balance that play, because we had a very mixed group. Because we had like, my guy was basically kind of like Faceman from the A-Team. I was the talker and the schmoozer, but I was also the hacker. And then we had guys who, as I called them, the meat shields, which that group broke down for a lot of other reasons. It was not really the game master's fault. It was more of the lack of maturity amongst the players. And I won't go into very specifics, but boy, Gretchen could tell you a few things where yeah, I don't remember her exact term, but it was kind of along the lines of, Jesus, but you guys, I'm going to go away while you guys all just, weep into your vaginas. It was something along those lines, where the one girl playing was just like, oh my God, you were being worse than the most dramatic, teenage girls right now. But Randy had been doing up until that, had been doing this good balance of, I would do my computery stuff, but it would never take more than 10 or 15 minutes. Or when I'm doing my diplomacy stuff, I'd still have the guys who are not very good talkers who would still engage and get into it. And part of the thing was that I was good enough at my job where I could smooth over the dumb shit that they would say. Sure. But then they were also good enough at their job that if I did talk myself into a bad situation, they could hopefully get me out. So it's this good balance of skills, and that's it can be tricky. It takes a good game master, and it takes patience, and it takes willingness to fail, because you're going to fail. No matter how many times you've run a game, you're going to do something wrong at some point. You're going to have a player who isn't going to like your style, or who's just, for whatever reason, having a bad day. And all they want to do is they just want to do what their character does best. And if everything isn't, focused on what they do the whole time, they're not going to have fun. And you can't plan for that. There's some things you just can't plan for. So you just plan to do the best job you can to make it as fun for as many of the people as much of the time as you can. If that makes sense at all.
No, it absolutely makes sense. And, I'm kind of wondering if in that game prep that inevitably that you do, if you don't have a couple of side things in your pocket of like minor encounters or minor things for the purpose of keeping people engaged. If that's, you can't obviously account for everything, but having a couple of things in your back pocket for, man, there's a big lull and these people have done, nothing for quite some time. And it's not their fault.
Yeah.
If that's not a good thing to do ahead of time as well.
Now, you can have the lulls that are the players' faults.
Yeah, and, I can see that.
There are times when players will have a lull, and you have to then actually kind of prolong that lull to get them back on track, because then they'll have to realize that, oh yeah, we aren't doing anything. This happened we were playing in a tournament at Gen Con, and this is however well you do, determines whether or not you go on to the next adventure.
Sure.
And they blew through. I'm playing with a bunch of people I didn't know, and I think I was playing with Randy and maybe Gretchen or one other person from that group, and some other people we didn't know, and they blasted through a bunch of their spells right away. And then they're like, well, we can all just rest, and we'll just take a rest. And I'm like, I don't know if we can do that. So then they all just kind of like, let's say, yeah, we're gonna do a rest to recover our spells. And the DM just sat there.
Yeah,
because obviously this is in this situation you can't just have a rest. Be like, it's like you can't just call timeout when you're it's the one thing I always love is when you're like in the middle of a dungeon and you just like, hey, yeah, we're gonna do a timeout. We're gonna sleep for 8 hours halfway through this mission. I'm like, really? I said, how does that work? And I used to do all the time when I was younger. We would, it was in the rules. You just, to get iron spike the door shut of some room and get sleep for 8 hours. You get up, you keep going because, apparently, the bugbear chief isn't going to realize that you've killed half his guys. They're not going to, come kill you when you're asleep.
Ooh.
So sometimes, when the players create a lull, you need to do something creative to get them back on track. And sometimes when you are creating a lull, the players will let you know. Sometimes. They won't always.
Yeah.
But sometimes they will.
And I'm playing with a bunch of very polite people who know that, I haven't run in quite some time. And I think there was a little bit of that politeness, which, greatly appreciated. But I felt kind of bad. It's like I said, my point of view is you're giving up your valuable time out of your life to, be a part of a story, to create a story, and having that, a thumb up your butt moment is no fun. And yeah, it's going to happen, but your job as a storyteller should be to mitigate the amount of time that you have said thumb up, said butt. And just trying to find that balance of action and inaction is like I said, it's difficult, and I acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I ended up doing, one reason why I had a lull for a while, is one person hoarded all the knowledge. I had one person who had, experienced bits of the mystery and didn't share anything with the rest of the class. So I had to kind of tap dance a little bit to keep other people engaged, because the person that, had a lot of the knowledge wasn't doing anything with it. So that made it difficult. Of course, at the point where he shared with the rest of the class, then things really started to pick up. But I felt bad because I inadvertently created a choke point, and I was trying to figure out a way to relieve that choke point, because I didn't know at what point he was going to, reveal this information that he had gleaned from his investigation. So trying to do that on the fly is, it can't, well, just like you do anything on the fly, it can be difficult. And you don't really have a whole lot of time to hem and haw, or maybe you just say, hey, can we take a break? I need a drink of water. you buy yourself some time and figure that out, and maybe that should be my next strategy when that happens again.
Stash some extra notes in the bathroom and be like, I gotta take a piss. Hold on.
I'm really enjoying it, and it's amazing how I'm going to say something, and I think it's going to be one of those things where a lot of people will go, well, duh. But the only way not to be afraid of something is to just do it, and be okay with things going horribly wrong. And I think ultimately that's what kind of held me back from running for as long as it did. Because now that I've run for, I don't know how many weeks now, 6-8 weeks. It's not hard at all. You know what I'm saying? I spend maybe 2 to 3 hours a week doing a little bit of prep, taking some notes, and I'm good to go for the next week. So it's been a wonderful outlet too. I used to, make signs and make websites, and that was like a creative outlet. And then I moved to a more managerial position, and I just didn't really get to create anything. So it's kind of nice to have my hand in creation again, and creating stuff for people to be involved with and enjoy. So that's been a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity that I truly appreciate, and I appreciate people taking time out of their lives to to play in that world that we're creating together. So
yeah,
that is its own reward.
I get a kick whenever you ask me for advice, and then there is that part of me in my head that goes, someday I'm gonna run a game for Brad. He's gonna walk me like, God, he's a shitty game.
I will never say that.
But the thing is, as often I've been doing that, I always have that thought that someone's going to walk away from the table going, "Well, that sucked." So for you, when you have your moments of doubt, know that almost every game master at some point or another has those feelings. Sure. So, I don't ever get over that. I'll run games for people that have run games. I have people who will. I have run Mistrunner at conventions at some of the smaller cons for year after year after year, and then the 1 year I don't, I feel disappointed, and I'm like, really? Wow, I didn't realize that there was I have a following, small as it is, but there's this one couple, and then this other family that if I'm at a con and they see me, they're like, when are you running Mistrunner? I'm like, I guess I can do a pick-up game because I didn't plan anything, so. Because even when I run those games, I'll walk away and I'm like, yeah, that could have been better.
Yeah, hindsight is always 20/20, and I ran a session and I went, well, that could have gone better. Here's what I should have done, or here's what I'll do next time. And as long as I remember that, that should be okay. And if you're not learning, to me, if you're not learning something each and every day that you're alive, you're doing something wrong. So it was definitely it's a continued learning experience, especially when you're creating a story with other people. And somebody joined our group a little bit later in the game, and he brought in a character who is a Irish Catholic priest. And without intentionally doing it, he steals the show at the greatest moments. And that's been truly wonderful to watch and to be a part of. And that too is a reward for running, which I appreciate. So. All right. Well, for you guys who are listening to this or watching this, contact us, adventure@gncasts.com. And if you've got any issues with pacing or ideas for pacing, things that you have experienced or ways you've gotten around it, we'd love to hear from you. So again, adventure@gncasts.com, and we would love to hear from you. You can also chat with us using Slack, which I use for business purposes, but I keep a channel open at all times, so people can talk with me and I can talk with them, who are listeners of all of our Galactic Netcast shows. You can sign up at gncasts.com/signup. And we can add you to our Slack team so that you can chat with us at any time. Again, gncasts.com/signup. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and more, you can go to gncasts.com/adventure. If you have a question or comment about anything that you've heard on this Galactic Network podcast, you can email contact@gncasts.com, or you can email us directly at adventure@gncasts.com. You can leave a voicemail or a text message by using this number, 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966, or you can go to gncasts.com/contact. And we do read and listen to and appreciate all of the feedback that you give us. You can also subscribe to our podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe, or you can search us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, the podcast section, or anywhere podcasts are offered. We've been picked up on Podcast Land and in a number of different places. So, and I also want to take a moment to thank Mark Wooldridge of Central Battery Music Works for creating the theme music for Adventure Party. Glenn?
What? I'm still here. I didn't leave. What?
Thank you for taking the time to school me on the lesson of pacing, or at least give me another perspective on it. It's nice to have a sounding board in which to throw out either things that I lament or things that I think I did okay with, or just getting that feedback to adjust and tweak and find my style of game mastering. If people wanted to find out more about Mistrunner, maybe when you'll be at a convention where you're running Mistrunner, or if people want to find out about your YouTube shorts, your horror shorts, and the B-Movie Bunker.
Sure. You can find me on Facebook with the B-Movie Bunker and Guy in a Bunker Productions. Also on YouTube for Guy in a Bunker Productions and B-Movie Bunker. Along with my shorts, they're all on my YouTube channel, Hell, Prey, and Handy. You can find me at guyinabunker.com. You can check out my really old stuff at nakedhobo.com/blog, which I was just looking through and realized I started that in January of 2008.
Wow.
So I've been doing the movie reviews for almost 10 years now. And back then I actually wrote reviews. Or you can just follow me on Twitter at Guy in a Bunker. And in theory, I'll be running the prequel to Mistrunner at Gen Con, provided they approve the event.
Nice.
We shall see. If they do, you can come play Message from the North, which is an adventure for Demon Eater.
Huh. Yeah. Well, if you want an opportunity to dip your toes in the world of Mistrunner, I highly recommend you getting to Gen Con, and if that event is available, that you check it out. I have yet to play a Mistrunner game that you've run.
I'll have to play it run for you sometime.
Someday.
I will be running Demon Eater on Sunday, July 23rd at GlenCon in Greenfield, Wisconsin.
What?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Yep. I was gonna go to GlenCon, but I'm gonna be there for Mistrunner for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
See how much I broke the new rules.
Rules are meant to be broken, sir. I want to thank everybody for joining us at the Adventure Party and listening to our tomfoolery and shenanigans. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.